Hey everybody, welcome to DadsDen of Pop Culture. Justice League Monday. Today we are doing a flip-through review of Justice League America number 40 and Justice League Europe number 16 from July of 1990. Oh man, I would have been graduated already from high school when these came out. Man alive. Well, these are both continuing stories from previous issues. This is wrapping up the Despero storyline. The Extremists storyline is really just getting started over here in Justice League Europe. Let's move him to the side. And let's focus on Justice League America. Hell on Earth. Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis, Adam Hughes, Jose Marzan Jr., Bob Lappin, Gene D'Angelo, Kevin Dooley, and Andy Helfer, all working on this particular book. You can probably figure out what each of them was doing based upon their professional credentials. So we open where we left off the last time. Despero has the Blue Beetle by the throat. Green Flame is not entirely out of commission, but on the ground in the front. And yes, this is an Adam Hughes book, so, you know. Anyhow, Despero, of course, pontificating on how much he hates everything and everyone. We get a little bit of Blue Beetle comedy here. You don't want to talk about this, do you? Silence, Nat. That's Beetle, but I do have an Uncle Nat if you... Hey, anyway, so you get the idea of that. And he's going to, obviously, finish off the Blue Beetle. But who should show up but John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, ready to go into battle. And this is where it gets interesting. If you remember what happened at the end of the last issue, you can maybe figure out what is going to happen here. John Jones appears, he speaks with Despero, and then he sees Despero apparently kill the Blue Beetle. He shouts, "I can't believe it, you inhuman animal." He attacks. You see the eye beam going into the Martian Manhunter, and then apparently he is destroyed as well. Damn you, Despero. Who is left? Why, the Green Flame is left. And she flies up and attacks. But, of course, her burning cannot destroy the burning hatred of Despero. And so he smacks his hands together and snuffs her out. Like a candle, we see Ice already gone in the foreground. And then he unleashes his power and his hatred on the whole world. By the way, this is very impressive work from Hughes. Adam Hughes is good at drawing pretty ladies, but he's good at drawing a lot of other stuff too. So he unleashes this rage upon the world, and he seemingly burns the entire earth to a cinder. And that is the end of the DC universe. All the rest of the pages in this comic book are blank. No, of course, that's not what happens. But we do get, like I said, some really impressive art here from Adam Hughes, as everything is seemingly destroyed, and Despero curls up into this little ball and finds peace at last. Somebody care to tell me what just happened here? 1 minute, Despero's crushing my windpipe. The next, he's just standing there, staring into space like some acid casualty. And then he flies off as happy as a clam. Mayavana. Gesundheit, no. Mayavana. The sacred treasure, the great gift. So what has happened is, John Jones has used a Martian ability to create a reality inside Despero's mind more real than actual reality. And of course, it is a reality in which he gets everything that he wants, which is wholesale destruction. And he says that it's a very powerful thing. It's a very difficult thing. It can only be done once by a Martian in his life. And he used this gift. He says, you use the gift of love on Despero. I used it for my friends, for my adopted world, and perhaps for Despero as well. At the very end, I thought I felt, hey, where'd that three-eyed jerk go? I owe him some lumps. And where's Ice? Not that I really care. So Guy Gardner wakes up at that point. Green Flame realizes Ice is gone as well, so they go looking for her. She had gotten injured earlier. No, she was not gone. And then what falls out of the sky is seemingly what remains of Despero, that with his fulfillment, he lost his giant monstrous form and turned into, this little, piece of beef jerky. So, but this battle has not been won without a casualty, because if you recall, the shuttle that was being flown by Mr. Miracle was vaporized. It was destroyed. And here we have Maxwell Lord and John Jones talking about this. And you say that the ship was vaporized. There wasn't even a body. Nothing, Max. I couldn't even feel the echoes of his soul. Someone should call Bart. I have already seen to it. And Oberon seems to be missing at the moment. Terrific. What about the rest of Scott's family? According to Barta, they're a little hard to reach. What about him, Despero, in the lab? Okay, so Scott apparently is killed, but you remember the last few issues where Scott was acting kind of weird? And I was saying, I don't really remember what was going on with him per se. Well, I think this has something to do with it. But at any rate, we see Blue Beetle up on the roof, mourning. Ice comes to sort of help him, but he really just wants to be alone. And he walks off, sort of stomps off, doesn't want any help. We next see the funeral of Mr. Miracle. Green Lantern, the real Green Lantern, is there. Green Arrow, you see Cyborg, you see Raven, Nightwing, Superman, Dr. Fate, Wonder Woman are all there, Batman, and of course, the current League. And the man saying the words, the Catholic priest, looks suspiciously like a man named Jack King Kirby, of course, the creator of Mr. Miracle. So we get, words said about Scott and what he meant to the world, etc. Gypsy is there, by the way, as well. Let us rejoice for him too. Amen. Okay, so the end of that. We see people talking, milling around. Big Barta calls out Max. Barta, I can't tell you how. Pow! And Max goes, heels over butt there. All we ever wanted was a simple life. No more fighting, no more madness. But you and your damned League. Barta, don't do this to yourself. Damn you all. Barta? Okay. She's not real happy about how this has gone down, which that means if Scott actually is alive, she either doesn't know it or she's a very fine actress. June 15th, everywhere. Dude, I love that movie. I love the Dick Tracy movie. God, it has its flaws, but it's a gorgeous flick, and I really have fun with it. Really had fun with it. I remember in typical nerd style, I went out and bought a yellow fedora after I watched it a couple times. It's a nerd thing. Okay, so then we have Beetle. He sees Booster Gold speaking to Gypsy, and he's like, I need to make up with the guy, even though he's been kind of a butt lately. And what does he hear? He hears hears Booster sort of pitching Gypsy on joining the super team that he's forming. Why, that's slimy. And he socks him. What happened? My fist happened, sleaze bucket. I didn't think even you'd stoop this low, Gold. hustling at your friend's funeral. You're scum, you know that? God, I really didn't mean to. I mean, Scott was my friend. I swear I didn't come here to. Well, anyways. So Booster Gold realizes he just did something really crappy, which isn't exactly out of character for Booster Gold. Good guy, but he has his problems. We next get this scene between Superman and Batman. You remember Once Upon a Time? These guys were best friends, man. World's finest comics, etc. This is the new continuity. They're not quite as close as they were in the past. You know, what do you want? Have I done something to offend you? Look, I'm not exactly feeling sociable today. They just buried my friend back there. I know, and I'm truly sorry. What do you want? I'm concerned about the League. Then talk to Max Lord. They're underpowered. If they keep facing entities like Despero, I'm afraid there are going to be more deaths. This time it was Mr. Miracle. Next time it might be Blue Beetle. Or is there a point to this? There's no reason for this hostility, Batman. I came to you out of concern. I admire the League. I want to see it continue to function, and function well. But to do that, it's going to need more muscle. I told you, talk to Lord. I'm just a part-timer these days. I don't really know Maxwell Lord, but you and I are strangers. You don't know me. You never will. Anything else on your mind? No. Yes. I really am sorry about Mr. Miracle. So am I. You know, this is kind of the new Batman. He's become a much more kind of obsessive freak over time in DC Comics. The old Batman wasn't really like that. He didn't really become quite like that for quite a long time. A lot of its existence. Well, Booster gets back to the company he's with now. Angela Lansbury there has things that he wants to talk about. Booster, this is important. No, Claire, it's not. Not one damn bit. So Booster's kind of going, yeah, maybe I kind of screwed up here. Maybe they were a bunch of screwballs, but they were my friends, and I really messed up. Nice scene here with Guy Gardner. And Ice, of course, he's here just to help comfort Ice. If she wants to talk or anything about Scott, yeah, I really wasn't that close to him. I mean, we worked together for a long time, but, we never really connected. No, of course you didn't. But I know how much you liked him. I mean, you really thought he was a good guy, huh? Yes, I did. And I bet you really just feel lousy about all this. Kind of sick to your stomach, kind of like you just want to punch a hole in the wall or scream or something. Something like that. They're starting to work here on making Guy Gardner a more full character and not just a caricature. They almost went the opposite direction at Marvel with U.S. Agent, where they were flawed character, but they were making him a more fully realized character in the comics. And then he joined West Coast Avengers, and they kind of went back on that a little bit, or at least seemingly. Of course, things change in comic books. We all know that. Well, we do get a moment here of Max and John Jones, and Max is like, I know people need to mourn, but frankly, we do need to get more muscle on this team, and we need to do it soon. He says, I swear to you, I'll disband this team rather than see another of my friends die. So he knows they got to make things a little bit tougher, whether people are done mourning or not. And our final scene in this one is a mysterious person visiting the grave of Scott Free. I never had the innocence, the clarity of vision that you did. That vision led you to Earth and to this Justice League. A part of me always thought of us as brothers, thought that perhaps we could help each other, teach each other, if we'd only had the chance. It's too late for me to teach you, Scott, but perhaps you can still teach me. I think I'll pay a visit to this league of yours. Thank you, brother. Rest well. You've earned it, of course. That would be Orion. So is Orion going to join the Justice League? Maybe. Next, Maximum Strength. So we're going to see some changes now in Justice League America. You know, when I did the Alpha Flight Mondays, boy, we saw a lot of changes in the Alpha Flight, but it never seemed to be a healthy transition. It always seemed to be something kind of horrible happening. Healthier transitions in the Justice League books, sometimes unpleasant, sometimes tough, but generally speaking, not just going from, one complete tragedy to another. Well, speaking of complete tragedies, Justice League Europe terminated with extreme prejudice Giffen, DeMatteis, Sears, and Elliott. So also following up from its last issue with the arrival of the Extremists from, and I don't know if they're calling it this at this point, but from Angor, where Blue Jay, the Silver Sorceress, and Wandjina came from. Wally West, the Flash, wants to go through that tube and figure out what the heck beat up Metamorpho so badly. Power Girl and Captain Atom are saying, dude, no. You got to stop. You got to stop. We got to think. Aren't you going to do anything? We're going to do something. But we got to do this right clearly. This is a trap. Meanwhile, back in Moscow, the Extremists are tearing things to shreds and having a great time doing it. This is what they did to their own world. And we see Tracer tearing feathers out of Blue Jay's wings. And finally, the Rocket Reds show up to defend Moscow. And frankly, it goes very badly for them. As you can see here, almost immediately, one of them has his armor just completely stripped from him. It's honestly not much of a fight for the Extremists. They're way more powerful than the Rocket Reds are. But the cavalry is coming. Again, Wally West is very impatient. He says, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Going to save our Moscow embassy in a hand-me-down, arriving like the junior auxiliary of the real Justice League. Ralph, is he always so emotional about things? You want to see emotional? Next time he walks by, tell him Barry wouldn't have acted like this. So, Elongated Man tries to keep a sense of humor with things, no matter what's going on, but they are going to arrive in just a moment. In the meantime, Blue Jay comes back to consciousness, realizes what's happened. He goes back to his full-sized form and realizes he has got to find the Justice League. And this time, he's not going to trust anybody in getting there. And a rather unpleasant scene for the Rocket Reds. So he manages to get to the Moscow embassy. He realizes that the teleportation tube is still standing. But how do they work? How do I... Please, let me help you. That's the one woman there who was, in fact, trying to help him. Not everybody in the Moscow embassy was trouble. You're going to the Justice League Europe. If you can send me, you must bringing them. You must, my sister, they, please, go quickly. I'll be back. We will beat those monsters this time. Hurry, please hurry. For some people, there is still being time. So, Sue and Catherine, back at the French embassy, hear the zap. They know something's teleported in. Catherine grabs a baseball bat and manages to slug Blue Jay, but thankfully Sue realizes who it is. Something tells me I didn't hit a home run. So then we get a moment. Also, they had the cat attacking him. But so then they kind of get a moment where he fills them in on who these people are. And we see the champions of Angor, obviously based on the Avengers, Thor, Hawkeye, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and the Atom. Ant-Man, more or less. So we see them. He's talking about how they fought bad guys and they posed a lot, but the bad guys eventually made up with each other and formed a huge group to take on the heroes. Meanwhile, the governments of Earth were not doing too well at getting together and getting rid of their nuclear weapons. So the bad guys, the Extremists, they stole the weapons, pretty much levitated them up above the world, and threatened. And the world's leaders didn't listen. And, well, a few of the champions went to find help, and that's when they encountered the original Justice League, and it didn't go that well. When they came back, they discovered that they were too late, that their world had been destroyed. Most of the heroes were destroyed with it. Johnny Quick wasn't, but he soon succumbed to radiation poisoning, and they figured that the villains were probably gone as well. But in fact, at least a core of them were not. They were still around. Well, at this point, the Justice League Europe arrives, sees what has happened. West has changed his attitude a little bit here. Maybe we ought to wait until we can get some JLA backup. Forget it. This is our job, and we'll see it through wherever it leads. And while we're on the subject, what happened to the I could have run there by now, Flash? I think you're confusing me with, well, the Extremists are delighted that more opponents have come. They launch an immediate attack. Oops, I bumped my camera a little bit. And literally just vaporize the ship around them. The good guys land. They go into battle, and immediately it is going really, really badly. Again, man, we're talking about villains that are sort of based on Marvel's heaviest hitters, Ultron, Doctor Doom, etc. These are guys who alone would take on, like, the Avengers, or alone would take on the Fantastic Four. Here, there's a whole team of them. You know, we kind of forget that sometimes, that Doctor Doom, you know, can kind of go toe-to-toe with the entirety of the Avengers, to an extent. So he's kind of more powerful than any of the individual Avengers, and that's true with a lot of the DC villains as well. So when they team up, watch out, man. They can do a lot of damage. Well, we got Power Girl in there. We got Captain Atom going after people. Crimson Fox is going after Tracer. We got Gorgon trying to deal with the Elongated Man, not working that well. But finally, Dream Slayer says, okay, I fear, he goes, we have already expended more than enough energy indulging our high spirits. Do we want to be fatigued when we face the task of taking a world? And so he, boom, sets off this thing. I love how you can sort of see, like, his skeletal structure. You know, he's like almost kind of translucent there. That's amazing. Sears did fantastic work on this stuff. So he basically takes everybody out with a single blast. We need to explore this world's geography and capabilities and decide how. Well. Whoa, what does that mean? Havoc, old boy, I do believe I've made a most precious discovery. Stop playing games, Die Hard. Get to the point. The point. I like that. Like the point of a nose cone, the point of a nuclear missile. One of this world's nuclear missiles? This world. Are you saying that they have it? If I don't know a nuke when I see one, who does? Oh, what a delightful world this is. It has everything. It's even better than home. And I sense that we have only scratched its surface. Then it's time we begin digging in earnest. Dreamslayer, take us to our next stop. But before that, shouldn't we permanently dispose of this planet's meager excuses for champions? No, Dreamslayer. We let them live. After all, what good are they? What good are they dead? Let them pick themselves up and toddle off to spread the word that there's a new gang in town. Bum, bum, bum. And Flash is saying, hey, you think you can just run away? You think we're going to let you get away with that? To be continued. So, these are probably, you'd almost have to call them the arch foes of Justice League Europe. And of course, they're going to tangle with Justice League America as well. These guys were hardcore. So a couple big stories. We get resolution in Justice League America and saying goodbye to a friend who I'm pretty sure actually is going to be coming back at some point. But saying goodbye to a friend and potentially increasing the size of the Justice League, putting on some muscle. And Justice League Europe, in the meantime, just got its butts handed to it by the Extremists they're in for a tough slog. Let me know in the comments what you think of these two fine issues. Justice League America number 40, Justice League Europe number 16 from July of 1990. I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. That would be very groovy. But until next time, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. And I will see you hopefully again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.